In question number 95, there were 4 sentences which were given here. You had to pick 3 which were in a particular sequence, while 1 was the odd one out. So it was a parajumble question, the odd one out kind. The answer to this question is option B, which was the odd one out. Now, see here, option which is sentence C, option C talks about how an aspirin a day could cut down people's chances of dying from common cancers. Now, if you are to read option option A over here, it elucidates, or it goes on to furthermore explain the statement which was made in C. It says that more than 1 lakh 30,000 deaths would be avoided if a 20-year-old in a 20 over a 20-year-old period, if Britain's 50 to 64-year-olds took a daily aspirin. So we know that the beneficial effects of aspirin are again being talked about. Then in D, option D, or sentence D, I should say, it supports the claims made in option A and C with the effects or results of a research team led by Professor Jack Cusick, who's the head of the Center for Cancer Prevention at Queen Mary University at London. Now, this is why these 3 are the sequence, which is C, A, and then D. This is the correct sequence. B, in fact, starts to talk about a fitness regime, which is not in connection with what we are talking of, and this is why we say that option B is the odd one out here for question number 95. Question number 96 was again a parajumble question with the odd one out sentence that you had to find. The odd one out here is option B, which is the only sentence that begins to talk of various other organisms which have been viewed in recent years. See, it says here that in recent years other organisms, exotic organisms, have been viewed. This is not in connection to the sequence which is D, A, and then C. Now let me explain that to you, that particular sequence. D starts to raise doubts about Picard's fish being something else, perhaps another form of sea cucumber. Then we follow up with A, which gives you the reason to why, or it follows through with the reason of such doubts about why such questions have been raised about Picard's fish. It says that it is thought that pressure is so great that calcium cannot exist in such high pressure, and so the bones of vertebrates will dissolve, and that vertebrates cannot exist at high pressure. Then the obvious conclusion after A is C, which says since high pressure is there, there are no bones, so no bones means that there will be no fish. So Picard's fish could have been probably something else. The only one that is out of the sequence, the only one which is the odd one out, is sentence B, which says that in recent years there have been other organisms which have been viewed. This sentence has no strong connection to the rest of the 3 statements, and that is why the answer to question number 96 is option B. Question number 97, which was a para-completion question. The text talked about how non-profit organizations depend on mainly 2 resources, one of course being money, and the other resource which is very scarce is leadership. And so it the text concludes by saying that qualified leaderships or candidates for qualified leadership are even rarer than people who might want to donate 6-figure checks or a huge sum of money. Now this is why the answer or the continuation for this particular paragraph should be option C, as it provides an example where a highly respected executive director observes or says that if he had a choice between spending time with a donor who was let's say donating a lot of money, or a potential candidate for a senior role, it would be hands down, he says, it would be the candidate that he would choose. So this is the example for the point which was expressed in the paragraph. That is how we go ahead with option C as the answer to question number 97. While it comes to eliminating the other options, we can say that A talks about attracting and retaining. See, it says here attracting and retaining senior executives. But we know that the passage talks about the problem of finding such people, so we cannot comment on A, or A is not related, I should say, to the paragraph. Then option B is not in line with the main argument in the passage, which is because it makes no reference to the lack of leadership being the main issue. It says the non-profit leadership deficit will become impossible to ignore in the next years. We cannot comment on what is going to happen in the next few years. The focus should have been the deficit right now. Option D can be eliminated because the passage does not compare any two sectors, while here there is a comparison between 4 to 6 for comparable private sector positions. Again, that is not the comparison being made in the paragraph. The answer to question number 97 is option C. Questions 98, 99 and 100 were fill in the blank questions. We are dealing with question 98 right now. The directions read that there are two blanks in each of the following sentences. From the pairs of words given, choose the one that fills the blanks most appropriately. The first word in the pair should fill the first blank, and so should the second for the second blank. This is here question number 98. It reads, the metaphor of a light in one's heart therefore represents a rejection of the dash dichotomy between reason and emotion, all the more so since it is a candle of understanding in one's heart, for a candle dash both light and heat. The correct answer to this question is C, which uses the words putative for the first blank and the word emits for the second blank. Now, to understand this question, please note that there is a word dichotomy here, which means a distinction. So we know that there is a usual distinction between reason and emotion, that reason is something different and emotion is something different. Now this metaphor here, which is the metaphor of a light in one's heart, this rejects or goes against this normal or well-known dichotomy. The word putative means well-known. That is why it should be here in the first blank, that it is a rejection of the well-known or usual dichotomy between reason and emotion. All the more so since a candle is usually known to emit or throw out both light and heat. Doesn't it go? Yes, it does. And this is why we come up with option C as the answer. I have told you the reason behind it, the reasoning behind it, the argument of why the metaphor of light in one's heart rejects the dichotomy, because usually there is a dichotomy between reason and emotion, while this metaphor rejects it, since a candle throws out two things, does not have a dichotomy, it throws out both light and heat, and that is why this metaphor represents, as the question says, a rejection of the well-known dichotomy. Why can't the other options be considered? Since it's easy, since a candle cannot either bar light and heat, it cannot brew light and heat. Brew probably brings a beer to your mind, but then it certainly can't, a candle cannot brew either beer or light or heat. Again, a candle cannot rebuke light and heat, and so we are the only answer option that fits here is C. Putative and emits are the two words that we are going to use. Question number 99 was again a fill in the blank question. The question here reads, there are two blanks in each of the following sentences. From the pair of words given, choose the one that fills the blanks most appropriately. The first word in the pair should fill in the first blank, and so should the second for the second blank. Now the question reads, not that the Soviet dash was the only culprit. In every country where it was shown, the censors had a field day and nibbled away even at what the dash Shumiatsky had left. So in this particular question, the word culprit is the key word. I can mark it here. It says the word culprit shows us that whatever the Soviet did in blank 2 over here, right? This this particular blank will need a word with a negative connotation, since you have the word culprit. Culprit shows somebody who's done something wrong, let's say. So we know that this particular blank 2 needs a negative word, a word with a negative connotation. Option A, this can be eliminated, since we have the word benevolent here, which has a positive connotation. Also the phrase nibbled away even, right? It shows that the Soviets were greedier than what the Shumyatsky did, right? It says that the Shumyatsky had left certain things and the Soviet nibbled away even at that. So we know that the Soviet are greedier than the Shumyatsky. So this thought is perfectly expressed by this word here, which is esurient. The word esurient means greedy or hungry, and that is why it also connects with the negative word culprit. And so we have option D as the answer, that not that the Soviet regime, which is the people who ruled the Soviet then, was the only culprit. In every country where it was shown, the censors had a field day and nibbled away even at what the greedy Shumyatsky had left. So the Shumyatsky were greedy, the Soviet were greedier, I should say, because they nibbled away even at what the Shumyatsky had left. They were the culprits, the Soviet regime. That is what this question suggests. And so we have answer option D as the correct answer for question number 99. Question number 100 is a fill in the blank question again. Apart from the two other which were there in the mock, the directions for question 100 read: there are two blanks in each of the following sentences. From the pairs of words given, choose the one that fills the blanks most appropriately. The first word in the pair should fill the first blank, and the second pair should thus fill the second blank. That's what the directions say. The question is here on the screen. Truly, with the dash mirror of material dash ever before our gaze, we see things spiritual and eternal through a glass darkly. Now the phrase glass darkly here, which I have marked, suggests that whatever image the mirror reflects is dark, is therefore obscure, I should say. The word that fits in the first blank is therefore the word tenebrous here, which means dark and gloomy. This is what was the keyword here, glass darkly, which suggested that it should be, the mirror should be dark and gloomy, therefore the word tenebrous. Now moving on to the second blank. The second blank can be figured out through the word material. See it, that's the word over there, the word material, which means that there are things which are not abstract. Something material is consists of physical objects, and that is why we come up with the word reality, things which are real, things which are material, things which are connected to physical things and not abstract or intangible things. Therefore we know the word cannot be shadows for the second blank, it cannot be reflection, it cannot be realms, that these three do not connect, and that is why we come up with option A as the answer for question number 100.